This and more with journalist Alex Phillips. She's also a former member of the European Parliament. Also with us, Walid Phares. He's a former Trump foreign policy advisor. He's also the author of Iran, an Imperialist Republic. Alex, ladies first, let's start off with you. How do the Brits view King Charles' visit to America and his friendship with President Trump? I know initially there were calls for him, UK politicians, for the king to not even come to America.
Wow. I mean, look, I think most ordinary, sensible-minded British folk think this is a great idea because we adore America. We consider America our cousins. And relationships have been especially strained lately, understandably so. And so what this is demonstrating, and I think many of the words that the president used, gushing, in fact, about the United Kingdom, extremely complimentary about King Charles, even pointing out his mum once had a crush on our king. It proves that actually it doesn't matter who the prime minister is, our relationship will endure. And that was the main thing I took from what President Trump said. He spoke about the special relationship not being something that is years long, but decades long. He talked about fighting shoulder to shoulder in the Second World War. And to me, that was almost a bit of a veiled dig at Sir Keir Starmer, saying, I don't like you, mate, but your country is one of my favorite places on earth. In fact, he called America and the United Kingdom the two greatest nations on earth.
Right.
So I think to most British people watching it, it looks like an extremely good idea and a very successful visit.
And speaking of Starmer, Walid, he discussed an urgent need to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, but Britain has been reluctant, it says, to get involved in this. And now President Trump says, quote, Iran has informed us that they are in a state of collapse. They want us to, quote, open the Hormuz Strait as soon as possible as they try to figure out their leadership situation. But this comes as reports state Trump is skeptical of Iran's offer to reopen the strait. The deal would table questions about what to do with Iran's nuclear program. So, Walid, where do negotiations go from here?
Well, negotiations follow the trust that the U.S. president and his coalition have in the process. And that means, you just mentioned it, he does not trust the current regime, even after layers and layers of elimination of leaders. The core of the regime is not to be trusted because of many things. Number one, they still have the attitude, aggressive attitude towards the United States, their allies, but also what their social media is saying, and that's very important. They do not want to get to a deal. So they are playing the commedia of a deal, but they don't want to, because they believe, according to what we see inside the thinking, and of course in social media, they are saying we are just back and forth with the United States, but in few months there will be changes in the United States. They are banking on the fact that this administration, few months from now, will be paralyzed, and therefore they would win. That's their view.
Alex, how does the UK view what's happening with Iran and President Trump and everything that's going on?
Well, the UK isn't united around a certain point of view. I can only really give you mine. I've been humongously supportive of what Donald Trump has been doing. I think he has proven that Iran was out of control. It was close to getting a nuclear weapon. That would have threatened the entire planet. We found out as well they had intercontinental ballistic missiles that could potentially reach Western Europe. So I thank the Lord for President Trump and what he's doing. I'm deeply ashamed of our Prime Minister. And I'm pleased to inform you, actually, there's a vote in Parliament tonight, which might see him reported to the Parliamentary Ethics Committee over his political appointment of Lord Peter Mandelson as American ambassador. It's caused a huge amount of controversy over here because the man is essentially a crook. And if that vote goes ahead and he's referred to the Ethics Committee, we could now see the Prime Minister having to resign in a matter of weeks, if not days. So fingers crossed.
We have to leave it there. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you both.
Thank you.